If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 21,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/C-suite. netsuite.com/C-suite. If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 21,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/C-suite. netsuite.com/C-suite.
So, brother, I have to be honest with you. I gotta tell you about an idea I've been cooking up. So, homies, as many of you know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have attempted to be more organized on the show. We have taken the effort and the time, especially now that we've recently, kind of stepped up the big boy ladder there, and we've been working with another company, hence why there may not be some ads up in here. But yeah, because we've been making, leaps and bounds to make this a better podcast for everybody out there, we've become more organized, and because of such, getting to my point, we've been reading a lot more books. We've been reading a lot more comics out there, guys, both by review and by request, and just also out of pure leisure. So you know what that concludes right there? You know the idea that all concocts and the necessity that you and I need to take?
What's that?
We need to open up a comic store, a comic and bookstore.
Kevin, that's like a crackhead selling crack.
You don't understand, though. No, that's the point. That's the point. We would indulge on our own supply, and it's a healthy supply. We're not crackheads opening up our own crack, corner or some fucked up stuff, whatever.
Kevin's Crack Corner.
Actually, I love the appeal of that, so I might revisit that. Put that on the back burner. I love alliteration. That's the hook.
Yep.
You can't sell me something on alliteration. I'm going to buy it. Point being, if we do this, we can supply ourselves with our own comic books and not have to keep buying a whole shit ton of comic books to keep doing this. We just own a comic book store, record out the back of it as from the podcast. It would both be our headquarters. It would be our recording studio. Right there, dude. It's too niche and too storybook perfect to pass up.
You bring up a pretty interesting point there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so. The thing with me is that
don't critique it.
No.
I'm joking. Please.
I'm gonna tear it apart.
Actually, I would love your help thinking of a name for it. Actually, Superhero Homies.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
There's
it's the perfect name. Yeah. But you were saying what else were you saying?
Is that when you started off, you really got me thinking.
Okay.
And I can't decide if I've been reading more or if it's the same. But what I do know is that since we've started podcasting, it just kind of it helped me decide what next to read. So that is one thing.
I will say this though, we're on a timetable. Beforehand, we were never on a timetable. We just read. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, we're going to be doing this one on this month, and we're going to be doing this one here because this reviewer asked us for it. Yeah. So, timetables. There you go.
Oh, yep. See,
yeah,
there you go.
I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying. Introduce here.
You might be on something, but see, the problem is that, especially if we're the ones working a brick and mortar store, the issue would be, at least for me, is that every time someone comes up to the counter to buy a book, oh man, this is a great one, and this one this is when we really see more character development being fleshed out. And I really think it's a great development from the previous art.
That's where I have to come up. Cute. Quentin.
No, I'm almost done.
No, Quentin.
So,
Quentin.
but when you-
Quentin.
But be sure that you
I'm
get the
using your
follow-up
full
book.
name, Quentin. Do not make me pull out your first and last name, motherfucker. At that point, no, I would have to.
Like, they asked me.
No, they did not ask you. That was a lie. I looked at the customer. Was that a lie? Yes, sir, that was a lie. I really just wanted to read it.
Well, he wants to know.
I've never read any of these. I just want to read it.
Like they're coming to me with one book, and I'd be the guy that makes them buy 8.
So you
now,
picked up this book. You gotta get these others.
You gotta get these other ones first if you really want to understand.
And since you're getting these, you might as well get these books because these come after. A matter of fact,
yes, these are tie-in events that help you lead into this other big event. You know?
See, what we need to do if that happens, and we'll get started here in a second, folks. Bear with us. What we really need to do to get this started appropriately is we manage it, but we're only in there maybe once or twice in the store function of the building, like, once or twice a week, and we let other people run it. The best businesses are self-operated. It's like a well-functioning machine. It operates by itself,
Man, one thing about this idea that I really like and that I think cements it.
What's that?
Kevin Smith did it first, and we can just kind of follow in his footsteps by creating our own comic shop. Yeah.
Well, the man has had some good ideas.
If only this were a video podcast and you homies could see the look on Kevin's face.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. My look is innocence. What are you saying, Quentin? Do you not like Kevin Smith?
Oh, I love Kevin Smith.
Yep, good.
How about yourself?
Fat Man Beyond, great podcast.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal podcast. I was listening to it earlier today, as a matter of fact. Anyway, welcome back, guys.
It is a good podcast, guys. It really is.
Welcome back to the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I am here with the homie Kevin.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how you guys doing? What is up? Welcome back. I hope you guys have all had a good week. Here we are again at the peak of another one. This time, doing some more comic book reviews.
That we are at the behest of a homie who sent us a request, wanting us to cover the Dark Knight Metal series.
Because of scheduling, it took us a while to get there because we got the request some time ago. But as promised, here we are.
Oh yeah. So we already had things lined up like for the following weeks, maybe even like a month or so. So it took us some time to kind of get out here to it, but we're here now.
Hell yeah.
To cover it. And so we are going to cover the Dark Knight Metal series. Specifically, though, we're just going to be really talking about 3 entries into the series, and that is Dark Days, The Road to Metal, which is the prelude that leads us into Dark Knight's Metal, and then the spin-off book from that, The Batman Who Laughs.
Yep.
So those are the 3 that we're really going to be focusing on tonight here. And for those of you who maybe haven't listened to any of our previous kind of comic talk where we talk about the comic book, if that wasn't, obvious enough. We don't really so much talk about the whole thing in tandem. What we really do more is talk about maybe some of the broad overstrokes, so that way it gives you a sense of it for those of you who haven't read it. You can still read it and enjoy it for yourself. And for those of you who have read it, it gives you guys kind of like a good place to follow along with us and to kind of unveil. So.
Plus, I know to certain homies out there, especially those who live a little closer to me, whom I can speak with, they took up the suggestion, but only purchased one of the books, which is great. However, now that we're more prepared and we have all this down, it may be useful to know about the other books as well, even if you decide to not purchase them, even if that's something you decide to avoid for whatever sake. Right. However, tonight I'm gonna love talking about the value of all 3.
Yes.
And that's intriguing to me. I will say though, to the homies who did that, thumbs up. You guys are dope. To all the new homies listening out there, fuck yeah. Welcome to the party. Take a seat. We're here for the long ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Strap in, put your condoms on, and get ready.
Wait, what?
What? Who said that? What happened?
That kind. No.
Oh, my bad. I thought we were here to have fun. I'm sorry.
This got weird. This got really weird. And it's been 5 minutes.
It's been 8 minutes. Thank you very much. Yes.
Time flies when you're having fun.
But no, so I do kind of want to start off. If you think is an alright idea,
Go for it, man. I mean, shoot.
yeah.
You know me, I'm open.
I was gonna say maybe talking about the books just a little bit. Of course, broad overtones. The books individually, because there are kind of some differences versus talking about them all in tandem.
Sure. So I'm gonna. That's a great thought process, and I had something similar actually. I was going to break it down from a less visceral standpoint, from just the basics 101 of the books, going down into the more in-depth stuff, and maybe what we even discover on the inside. So just beginning, from broad strokes, the outer rims, what's easy to observe about the books. These are collaborative works of a lot of names, especially the first one in the series that we're going to talk about, Dark Days, The Road to Metal. That one has particularly a lot of well-known badasses working on it, dude. Of course, Snyder, he's up in there. Romita Jr., that's another name we've brushed quite a few times in this show. Freaking Lee's up in there. That's always a bad boy. We got
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, hell yeah, dude. I guess there would be a specification needed there for sure. But yes, Jim Lee, DC side. But and then we got a lot of daggum names on this shit, dude.
Yeah,
a lot of different artist types too. It is an interesting amalgam of a story, and as you come to know exactly what it encompasses, it makes sense why they have fluctuating and changing art styles and changing writing styles even inside one cover, which is really intriguing to me. You know, that's a ballsy thing to pull off.
I think, I'm pretty sure for the most part, as far as the writing goes, just particularly Scott Snyder and a little bit of James Tynion IV.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work with like Batman Eternal, so he's pretty used to working with Scott. And he's also a really good Batman writer himself. So I myself, I guess just to preface, like I'm a really big fan of Scott Snyder's work on Batman in particular.
Oh yeah, agreed. Same here.
He's done a lot of good work with him. So, really, like as far as modern day Batman writer goes, I always thought that Snyder was one of, if not the best, as far as writing Batman goes. I would say maybe 85% of his run on Batman in the New 52 I thought was phenomenal. That was like Court of Owls, then had Endgame at the end. And a 0 year arc in between. Like, there's a lot of really good shit in there.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of great shit in there, dude. Like that was some of the stuff that we read prior to beginning our recording sessions, and that was dope. I remember I borrowed all your collection for that. No surprise there. But
yeah. With that being said, though, with let me ask you this, Kevin. With Dark Days, The Road to Metal, which is the prelude book.
Yep.
Would you say that this book is vital or pivotal to understanding the main story, Dark Knight's Metal?
The way they write it is so peculiar. Like the writing of these three books, Let me explain it like this. If I happened to be a different fan of Batman, and I happened to pick up these estranged books in a separate order and even in separate years, one of them, early 2012, the other some 4 years later, and the other one some 2 years later, hypothetically, and you would explain to me that these actually were books in order to tell a certain story, I would partially believe you, but I would be bewildered because I think alone these books could stand as well and tell their own story. I think Dark Days, The Road to Metal would be the most canonically confusing one, however, and we'll go into why here in a good bit. I think that one by itself works as a prequel more than it does a standalone. I think, however, Dark Knight's Metal is strong enough to stand on its own. It definitely has its own power to that book. And the same, of course, with the last one we're going to talk about, The Batman Who Laughs. In overall answering your question, though, Road to Metal, I think because it serves so strong as a prequel to Dark Knight's Metal, you don't need to read it with the other books, but it really fucking helps because the whole story itself is very layered. and it can come off as convoluted if you don't.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in your assessment there, because the Road to Metal, this prelude book, it is very it
Right.
in and of itself is a very layer story, and
Yeah.
they hit the Snyder hits the pedal immediately.
So real quick, actually, about that, the valuable thing about these particular books and us two reviewing it particularly is that we have a rare point of view here when it comes to this. Now, you are religiously familiar with Batman's history. Like, I would dare say I don't know anyone who knows Batman's history more, besides probably Grant Morrison or, Tom King at this point, maybe, or Scott Snyder, of course. That being said, if I have to compare you to people who've written the books, that obviously means I hold you in high regards to your knowledge of Batman canon. I am not that way, obviously. For one, probably because I revere someone I actually know in that much light. Two, I just am not. I have not read that much Batman. So we had probably, at the very beginning, vastly different experiences dissecting this work because it's so rich and filled with context, with Batman lore and Batman knowledge and DC history, and you gotta know this book to get that reference and that book to get this reference, and fuck, it's so layered, and now we're 50 references in, holy fuck. Whereas I didn't have that. I was just reading it, and it's like, this feels like something from the past. That feels like something from this other big book. I kind of read that book. That's a reference to Scott Snyder's Endgame. So we again, what you're about to say, I want to preface it with, you can enjoy this book either way, obviously. Either knowing Batman's lore through and through, like your own life, or if you're a little more like myself and just enjoy Batman and you read it lightly,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And I think you're right, and that is a pretty important distinction to make, because I'm sure there's a lot of homies out there who maybe haven't read it yet or thinking about reading it, or maybe some of you who have read it, who have your own kind of interesting viewpoints on this. But the thing about Dark Days is that it doesn't just require one to have a knowledge of Batman, but to have a vast knowledge of pretty much everything post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah. So everything from like, when was Crisis on Infinite Earths? Like 85. Everything from like 85 to current day, pretty much something from every single big event from then you kind of have to know, and that's kind of a problem, because like,
That's a challenge.
Even
that's
for someone,
not a lot of people.
Even for someone, like myself, I like to consider myself decently versed in DC lore, but the problem is that Dark Days, I got to be honest, for me, it's a really messy read. It starts off very clean. It starts off on the right path. And then for the book itself, maybe a third of the way through the book, then it breaks down and it goes off into different excerpts from different story arcs.
So you want to know something I was actually very grateful for? Something I took your advice for, but then went back and decided to take my own chances against. So you warned me, because you read the book first, obviously, and whenever you lended it to me, I said, dope, thanks, I'm going to read the shit out of this. I promised to dog ear every fucking page. I'm going to lick my fingers before doing so too, just for you. Jokes aside, yeah, I know. Guys, I promise you, if this was a video podcast, that was his face. Just, anyways, but, no. So reading this, the first half of the book was extraordinary. I thought that if I could separate that chunk of the book, that itself is a strong prequel, and I would say that is super necessary, or excuse me, super beneficial. You will get much richer detail in knowing and reading that first act, but the second act is very convoluted, and that's the part that you suggested to me. You can read it or you can skip it, because this part is... It's there, but going back to your earlier question, I suppose, is that the part I needed to know to get the rest of the story? No. I went back and read it anyways, so against those wishes, and I was confused as fuck for a while. I had to read it with Wikipedia, and that's how I was able to kind of like dissect more of what happened, but of course I didn't get the same experience because I didn't actually read the stuff. I went to Wikipedia and said, so what the fuck is the second half of The Road to Metal? What is this? You know, this is not a stroll through the countryside. Yeah.
Yeah, because pretty much everything after like page 76 or something like that, it's gonna be just chapters taken from these huge events like Final Crisis, and Batman Endgame and Nightwing and the Death of Batman or R.I.P. Batman. Like there's little excerpts taken from all these different books and all these different sources.
Yeah.
But the problem is that there's really no context.
Nope.
So like even for example, I've read all those books except for like the Nightwing stuff. That was the only thing that I was completely unfamiliar with. But everything else I had read. But even still, from my point of view, I was like, well, there's no context here. You're not really telling me why I'm reading this.
Plus, it was frustrating because you're reading it. It's like, oh, this is really dope. I want to see what happens. Oh, nope, never mind. Now I'm looking at Professor Pig for some fucking reason. Okay.
Yeah. And you know, because of that, it's like, well, it doesn't really add much value for me as a reader. And this is coming from somebody who's read most of the sources that you put in here for our information. I see with a question mark at the end. But you know, as far as like that first portion goes, the portion that's actually like a concise story that we get there, it's interesting because, you know, throughout the years, Batman, every once in a while, I feel like the writers really do have to remind us as the audience or as the readers that Batman really is paranoid. Like he is truly a detective, and he is truly always interested and always searching for things that maybe could lead to something else.
Yeah. I mean, this book, the beginning here is extraordinary, dude. Dark Days, The Road to Metal has some really cool events. And even in the first act, and that's primarily what I'm going to just keep talking about from this point on, because the second act is so convoluted, and like you said, it's so estranged and very ill-referenced that we have no idea why it's there. But the first act here, there's a lot of cool references and pulling points from other crucial points in DC's lore that it's just really intriguing to read up on. You know, we see Batman visiting a lot of cool places, gathering a lot of interesting artifacts even, and it's like, wow, this is good complex shit. This isn't him chasing people on the rooftop. This is really deep.
Yeah. So I guess I gotta be honest. Like if I had to preface both Dark Days and Dark Knight's Metal, it would be I'm surprised that so many people enjoy this so much. And that says more about me, I think, than it does about Scott Snyder. Even though, from my perspective, I think it really just caught me by surprise. Because this isn't typically what I get from reading Scott Snyder's work. And even in the foreword to Dark Knight's Metal, Scott Snyder, he writes a foreword in that, and he basically says that, yeah, he wrote this, not necessarily he wrote it for himself, but he wrote this with that inner child in mind for himself, like what he enjoyed reading as a child. Okay. And it kind of shows here, because for me, this is so vastly different from what he primarily writes. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy this, but these super grand events, when they are written, like even though this doesn't take itself that seriously, I don't know if that helps my enjoyment or hinders it.
That's actually a really interesting thought, and let's go ahead and peel a Band-Aid off, because I had something similar coursing through my mind whenever I finally finished the last few pages of all three of these books here. So I cannot not applaud this book. The level of creativity and the level of layers and thought process that obviously went into this is both shocking and intriguing on an entirely new level for both Batman and DC's lore. Super cool stuff there. Is it my favorite story? No, definitely not. And the reason why I will always applaud the creativity here, because they really did some crazy shit, as we're going to talk about. And even their stories, like, how the fuck are you tying this into that and that into this? And wow. But it's so convoluted that I had to work to enjoy it. And when I sit down and read a comic book, I'm taking time away from all that, you know? I'm not trying to work on some shit. I ain't doing no customer service or this or that job or whatever my real life applications are. I want to take a step away from that. I want to sit back and read something. And that doesn't mean I want to read something lazily without thoughts or anything to help provoke my thought process or my brain power. But I don't want to have to like read the book, put it down, go away for a few hours, come back, pick it up, read the same 5 pages and wonder, okay, wait, what does this mean? And wonder if I'm enjoying it or not.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, and not to hop around too much, because I do want to talk about Dark Days here, but I'll say this and then I'll go back to Dark Days. Okay. I put Dark Days and Dark Knight's Metal in a completely different category than I put The Batman Who Laughs. For me, that's a Scott Snyder story. That's what I'm used to.
Oh, no. Batman Who Laughs has a totally different tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's noticeable.
The difference, I think, and once again, this may say more about me than about Scott, but I think the difference for me, at least, is that I think I just truly prefer those smaller told stories, those smaller scope stories. The Batman Who Laughs isn't necessarily a universal story. It's like spoiler. It all takes place in Gotham City. You know, like it's and there's not this huge roster of characters we're dealing with. It's just a handful of people.
It's a pretty. It is still convoluted in and of itself, but it is. But for one, less so. It doesn't take near as many details as Dark Knight Metal or Dark Days does. Dark Nights or Dark Days. I'll just shorten it like you have been. That's pretty smart. But it doesn't take near as much detail like it does in those stories to tell the Batman Who Laughs. It is pretty classically another Black Label Batman book, which is pretty great. We've had no problems with that. That's been super fun.
Yeah, you can mostly read The Batman Who Laughs, and you just really need a superficial knowledge of The Batman Who Laughs to fully understand and embrace the book, at least from my viewpoint. But we're going back to the other two here because
I mean,
all right, because Dark Knights or Dark Days and Dark Knight's Metal, those two are very much tied together, obviously.
Yeah.
Whereas the Batman Who Laughs is more of a spinoff, but with Dark Days, so it starts off basically with there's this off-site digging project that goes awry. And there's a researcher there, a scientist, Dr. Madison, who basically says, it seems like the fucking Earth's core metals are very upset, like something is not right in the depths of the fucking Earth.
Yep.
Batman comes in one of his fucking amazing suits to save Dr. Madison, and then shit gets worse. Aquaman comes in because it's affecting the ocean around that region. He comes in, it's like, Bruce, this is a black site. Like, no one knows about this here. Wayne Tech owns this. You want to tell me what's going on?
Explain some shit, bro?
Yeah. And Batman says, no, not really.
Classic.
Yeah, and it's true. You know, he basically says, trust me on this, Arthur. Like, I'm researching something. It's something big. I pulled the thread, and I can't stop now.
Yep.
And that really is kind of what leads us off here. But we kind of go back to the Batcave. And Duke is there. Duke Thomas is there. And once again, for those of you who, here's the thing. Like, if you've been reading, like, let's say DC Rebirth, more or less, then you won't really get a lot of him. Not in Tom King's writing, but in the New 52, specifically towards the end, is when you get Duke Thomas, the introduction of him. And then he had this other period of time where he was in one of the Robin books primarily. But Duke Thomas, he's pretty much been sitting in obscurity for a little bit here, and now here he is, and I think it was known as the Signal for a while, and that may still be his superhero name. But essentially, what we get here is he's in the Batcave, and one thing that Scott even kind of acknowledges is the fact that he has kind of been in obscurity. That's kind of brought up through the Joker, who we're going to get here shortly.
Right. This beginning part's very interesting because it tells both these plots. It follows the plot of Batman and where all he's going and what all he's up to, and he kind of brushes off each Justice League member he encounters, who keeps kind of doing the same thing that Arthur did earlier. Hey, Batman, what's going on with you, bruh? You want to tell me what you're doing here, what you're doing, why you're doing, blah blah blah. And Batman constantly kind of reassures them, no, I've stumbled on something. it's important, and I need this, that, this black site, etc., to finish solving this. And it's great, mysterious, exposition, which is classic Batman. And then all the while that's going on, we get Duke and Green Lantern, who's been told by his superiors to come down. Hey, there's some really fucked up energies and stuff happening down on your Earth somewhere. Find them and help nullify them. What's going on? And we need investigations. And it leads him to the Batcave.
Yep. Leads him to Gotham City. I don't think he got permission, but he went anyway.
Yep.
And Ganthet, like one of the head intelligence of the Green Lanterns, tells Hal, "Hey, I need you to go to your sector and check out this energy," like you said. And so he goes, and he runs into Duke. And it's here where really when these two begin to kind of go on this journey together, this little mystery. They find a hidden area in the Batcave.
Yep.
And then they study this. Hal's ring begins to malfunction, and that's kind of when like a red flag should kind of raise for anybody like in this situation. If the power ring for some reason isn't working and it has plenty of juice, that's not good. That means that there's something extremely dense and powerful blocking the signal. I mean, we're not talking about any kind of lead or anything like that. We're talking about something magical.
Right.
Something
it's kind of like your
powerful.
spider senses are tingling, but on a pretty elevated level. Like, oh shit.
Yeah. They keep journeying back, and then Duke is trying to defend Batman's actions. I'm sure wherever Batman hid back here, he hid it for a reason. Green Lantern. For anybody who's read any kind of Green Lantern at length, you know that those two have a very shitty relationship with one another. They don't like each other. Plain and simple. Like, they've come to accept one another and to even kind of respect one another, but they don't get along.
Right.
So any chance to kind of have the shit on each other, they kind of take it. And more or less, that's kind of what happens here. Green Lantern is like, I don't...
Nah, fuck that. I'm going to find this out.
Right. Whatever Bruce is doing, I need to get to the bottom of it. Primarily, sure, because Ganthet told me to, but also because I want to know where Bruce is up to. And so they go, and then they find the Joker.
Right. And that's the big surprise there.
Yeah.
And while that's going on, Batman is going across doing a lot of crazy shit, too. After Arthur, he runs into Diana doing some really crazy shit on Themyscira.
Yeah, he goes to get a weapon, an artifact. I think the Sunblade.
Actually, no, he goes there to see Dionysus, I want to say.
I thought his name started with an H.
Hephaestus.
Hephaestus, the blacksmith.
But Diana said, nah, this guy ain't around. Hey, but I was told to give you this, the Sunblade. He takes it, go see his old buddy / enemy, frenemy.
Oh, actually, before you go on, like not only is the blacksmith not there, but she says none of the Amazons are there. They all have left Earth.
Okay, that is actually pretty important. Yeah, I'm trying to go through this because we've got 3 books to cover, but essentially he gets this cool ass sword, the Sunblade. Which let's bask on that for a second. The Sunblade. That sounds dope. I don't know what it is, but if that was a D&D weapon, you best believe I'd covet that.
Yeah.
But anyways, he gets this cool ass sword, and now with the knowledge that even the Amazonian gods are no longer among us, he goes and sees his old frenemy Ra's al Ghul and trades the sword, barters it off.
Talia. Yeah.
Talia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Trades the sword off and gets Shazam's dagger. Shazam the wizard, not the hero. The wizard who actually gave the hero his powers, there you go, and gets the dagger. And the dagger is actually a certain type of divine metal, is what the book tells us. Ooh. Mysterious noises. And that's kind of where we get to there. And that's where we end up with him when we kind of discover the Joker living in the Batcave.
Yeah.
In the secret compartment of the Batcave.
It was, by the way, at this point, it's also important to note that while Green Lantern and Signal were back there in the Batcave, there's very carefully and very interestingly drawn a lot of artifacts in the Batcave. Now, obviously, the Batcave is always full of very cool artifacts.
Right.
But this time it's different. There's a very unique set of artifacts. You see Psycho Pirate's mask. You see one of the Atlantis tridents.
Yep.
You see, it looks like some of Wonder Woman's bracers.
Yep.
You see, and then also there's one very small panel. But if you look at it carefully, it's a tooth, and I had to, that drove me crazy. So I went back and I fucking tore my bookshelf apart. Thankfully, not really, but I went back through the New 52, and that tooth comes from the Court of Owls when Bruce
Talon?
comes from Nightwing.
Okay.
Because one thing that happened was that the Court of Owls, they were actually in cahoots with one of the leaders of the circus that Nightwing's family worked for, that Dick's family was with, the Flying Graysons.
Okay.
And this guy was basically working as a scout for the Court of Owls, pretty much telling them, hey, I have someone here that could grow to make a great Talon. And so what the Court of Owls would do is that they would implant a little trace of Dionysium inside the tooth. That way, when that person died, the Court of Owls could raise that person back and have them as a Talon. That's how they got their talents. Once Batman discovers that, he and Dick got into like an argument about something else. Bruce punches Nightwing, breaking that tooth, and he takes that tooth from Nightwing and to be like, hey, look, I didn't do that because I'm a dick. I did that because they put this inside of you, like this Dionysium. Like they're going to control you eventually with this. Once you die, they could control you. So that's the tooth that he kept in the Batcave.
This, guys, by the way, is one of the examples we were talking about very early on in this podcast, talking about how complicated and even possibly convoluted they get with the details here, because that is an estranged ass example of some deep ass canon you would have to have read to truly understand on the first attempt everything you read in these books. Not frustrating, not at all. Of course not.
Like on one hand, I applaud it. On the other hand,
right? It's like, oh, that's really creative, but slightly confusing out there.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, for a background panel, I think that's fine. That's perfect even.
Did you say a background or a background panel? Because that's potential wordplay punnery. Right, I
guess you're right.
I can't decide if I should tell you to go to bed or if I'm just like, you're trying too hard.
Well, I meant to say background if I didn't. If I said background, then I meant that too.
Yes, the answer is just yes.
Yes. But I guess for me, the frustration comes in when he leans so heavily on things that have happened canonically, you know, maybe, or not canonically, but maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And references it. Or even when he kind of pats himself on the back by referencing his own shit, like the thing with the tooth, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, he references a lot of his own work.
I mean, artists are allowed to do that. You know, we laughed at Brian Michael Bendis when he referenced the House of M in Civil War II. You know,
right?
Something else we've covered in past episodes, but you know, you're right. Whenever you're really riding yourself hard to you know, to tell your news story here, it's isolating yourself from the rest of the writers who are, you know, permitted Batman canon, but at the same time, it's the perfect example of, oh, you're looking in the lake and you're falling in love with your own face, and you know, it's, oh, what's that? That sounds like a familiar story. I wonder, where am I getting that from? What's Kevin referencing? Yeah.
Well, I guess something else we also can't forget also is Carter Hall, aka Hawkman.
That was, I appreciated that. I liked the way they used Carter Hall, because honestly, I kind of forget about Hawkman. You know,
and which is kind of a shame, because like when you think
he's cool,
but and also like whenever I think of Nth Metal, I think that's the shit that he uses. But
that's the mace. Yeah,
that's the mace that he uses. But now I'm like, oh well, now Nth Metal has another kind of, all metals essentially kind of have different meanings to them.
All important metals, you know, because they didn't say Nightwings, you know, batons. Oh fuck, they're divine metals. Ooh, you know,
right? Yeah. I guess those made in the Batcave, so they're special for different reasons, or made from material got from the Batcave.
Again, I repeat.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, divine metals. The examples they pulled from are really cool. However, like the bracers and the Shazam dagger, cool stuff, but you're really stretching out what should be a strong beginning for a story.
Yeah, and I understand keeping the readers, you know, kind of in mystery, keeping them shrouded from everything, but at the same time, it's very interesting, very odd.
Yeah.
And essentially, what happens is that he goes to Superman and he's like, "Hey, remember that secret that I left you with?"
That's a hell of a retelling.
Right.
Yeah.
But no. I guess even before we get to that point, though, let's talk about the Joker a little bit here. How long do you think the Joker has been locked
Man,
up?
I was wondering that.
Yeah.
It is really confusing.
Because we as readers don't know. Like, there's no reference point.
So one thing I want to get at, and you may or may not agree with this. I don't know how you're gonna take this, but so one thing that I'm gonna strike as a negative tally against these stories, all of them, is that I feel like a good chunk of this was more made to be pleasing and even entertaining for what they presumed writers would enjoy, or excuse me, that readers would enjoy, or that readers would really want to buy, so we can really up our comic sales or something. But there's some things that don't make sense in writing essences. So better said, they sacrificed more quality writing, or what they normally have for, oh, this is really great quality of storytelling, for, oh, this would be really cool, let's put this in our story, fuck how it happened, just put it in there.
Right.
And then they have this really strange, very loose, very, very, very stretched ass bridge connection between these 2 points to tell the rest of the story. And to me, that makes it not the strongest story, which is weird for Batman, because some of his stuff is the strongest of strong stories, and that's super great. And this is so estranged, and again, this is going to be my favorite word of the night, convoluted. Actually, that specifically is my favorite word. Convoluted.
Yes.
But it's just so out there, and so it's overly complexed to the point where it's like, what were we trying to read again? Where are we trying to get to? Let me just skip to the good part and skip to the point that matters, which I shouldn't have to say for reading a book.
Right.
Granted, I can never not applaud this book nevertheless, because I don't think I've ever read anything like it. It is above par for creativity. But that's my tangent. Please continue with what you were saying.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, but you're right. It is really ambitious, but, sometimes when you become
That's a good
so...
word for it.
Yeah. But, sometimes when you become maybe a little overly ambitious, it kind of backfires every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of what we get here, though. But, yeah, so Joker's in the Batcave. We don't know how long he's been in there.
For all reasons. Because, no. I know we got to talk about 3 books tonight, but I'm going to sit on this fucking bullshit for a second. Why was he in the Batcave in the first place? Why was it safer to house him in there? How was he trapped in there? Because Green Lantern and what's-his-face just walked the fuck in there like it was no big deal. Holographic wall? Who cares? Let's go. And he's writing numbers. Like, what's he doing? Trying to write down and finish the equation of pi or something? Like, what is that even? Like, what are these numbers? Are you just bored out of brains for shit? So
yeah, I wish I had an answer for you. I mean, as far as we know that there's some kind of electric field that won't allow Joker to leave.
This is true.
However, he doesn't say anything about it, and it's an invisible field that therefore, like, when Green Lantern and Duke approach it, they somehow short circuit it when they hit it, causing the field to come down, and now Joker is technically free. But yeah, so they go
fucked
out.
Up, Duke.
They don't fucked up.
You done fucked up, kid.
God damn.
Dadgummit.
Oh yeah. But also it's like, if you had like a special prison for the Joker, and also like Green Lantern and even Duke had the audacity to question like the moral reprehensible behavior of Batman from locking up the Joker and him. Like, he's the Joker.
Yeah, it's like, look, I get it. Batman made a weird judgment here. If it was against Two-Face, I'd be on Duke's side and Green Lantern's side. Like, okay, whoa, bro, but it's the Joker.
Yeah, how many more people are alive because he kept Joker locked up in his own cave?
Yeah, that's like the weird ass Batman only thought process, which is the happy mediator, the compromise between, okay, just kill this guy. He's obviously going to kill way more people, and if you kill him, yeah, you're technically a quote killer Batman, but he's gonna kill hundreds and thousands more probably.
Yeah.
In however many stories we're gonna tell before freaking month's end.
Yeah.
But,
Well, see, and that's something else that I do really quickly want to applaud Scott Snyder for, because ever since that fucking meme went around, who fucking knows who made, people think that Batman only kills or doesn't kill because of the numbers. I mean, and thankfully, like the Dark Knight or the Batman Who Laughs does a pretty decent job of cleaning that up.
Yeah.
But Joker's out, so that's grand. And he, just to speed this up a little bit, he does start like destroying this random machine that we don't know what it is at this point.
We don't even know. And this part gets a little strange. It
does.
Like this part's like, what the fuck are you trying to write, bro?
Yeah, and then of course there's Plastic Man's egg. We can't forget that.
Because Plastic Man is apparently part bird.
Yeah, there was as much as I love Scott Snyder's writing, and but he has been, some could say, a little notorious for maybe retconning some things. To be fair, with the New 52, that entire event was a retcon, so that wasn't on him, but he maybe did change some things. But I mean, even
that
with,
feels like material for another show.
yeah.
Interesting.
And that is kind of like another material, because like on certain hand, like retcons are necessary, because like you can't have 80 years of history all be canon. You have to find a point somewhere. But anyways, even with Plastic Man's egg, like apparently Plastic Man, like his origin was tweaked so that the vat of chemicals that he fell into contained traces of one of the metals, one of the mystic metals. And so for quite a while now, apparently the dark universe or the dark metals have been tempting him to do like some dark things. And he, the way that Mr. Terrific puts it, who we see later on in the series, is that Plastic Man, he's not anything, he wasn't anyone special. He fell into this vat of chemicals, and he was a thief, and so like he doesn't have that kind of moral upright code or that fortitude that your Boy Scouts have.
Yeah, no. Whenever he became a hero, he became a pervert.
Well, he was like probably already a pervert.
Man, yeah, that's true. He probably was a thieving pervert.
A thieving pervert. He stole underwear.
Wow.
But like, in order to block himself off from those temptations, he hid himself in like a cocoon-esque state in the form of an egg. And yeah, they kept it. And I mean, Plastic Man, like he has a pretty hardcore fan base. Like, he is virtually kind of invulnerable.
Yeah.
He's SpongeBob. There's not a whole lot you can do to hurt him.
That was more of like a Family Guy laugh. It kind of was. Oh, wow.
I'll take it. I'll run with it.
Yep. That's my Peter Griffin impression.
But Duke and Green Lantern, they do come to the point where Duke realizes, oh shit, guess what? He's a metahuman. Of course he is.
Of course.
He is.
And of course he has some type of like visionary power where the light can really affect him and he can like see shit.
Right.
And then Hal is like, oh, okay, apparently that's a good thing. Here's my ring. So you can rebuild the machine Joker broke.
Yeah. I mean, this was just...
because reasons.
This was just super... This was way convenient.
It was conveniences after conveniences, which is a steep cliffside that you can fall down whenever you're writing your content. If you just rely on conveniences and coincidences, even you're literally stumbling down this cliffside and you're hurting yourself. You're damaging the quality of your writing. But yeah, I talk a lot about that. But yeah, that's essentially what I recall from that. Anything else on that particular book?
The only thing else, I guess, that I know at the very end there is the visions that Batman has.
Right, he has dark visions.
Yeah,
he learns about some Destiny shit.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that he does.
Yeah,
and the Dark Knights are coming.
Ooh. He learns more. Was that this book or the next book where he learns about Barbados?
I believe that's the next book. I don't think
Yeah.
Barbentos is actually mentioned in Dark Days.
I think you're right. Yeah. Cool ass concept. Very cool. I actually really liked that bit.
Yeah.
Even though it too was somewhat convoluted, I was able to get behind it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I digress. Let's move on appropriately.
And you know what? Moving on, we can also this is kind of convenient because we can talk about something else that I want to touch up on a little bit more, and that is Carter Hall, because he does also kind of play a part in Dark Knight's Metal, obviously, and it kind of starts off with him a little bit too, and on his journey, and so just to go back to him really quick, so like we've known now for a while, pretty much since Post Crisis, ironically enough, that his whole story has been retconned, maybe by Jeff Johns even. Ironic, we were talking about him before the podcast started, but
Interesting.
yeah. There was a writer that kind of reinvented Carter Hall, so that because originally like his entire comic history, man, was just already convoluted. Like before Crisis on Infinite Earths, it was already a fucking mess.
That's I mean, and this might be another potential subject. That's kind of the issue you run into whenever you're a comic conglomerate.
Yeah.
That's fun to say. And you've existed for so long that your characters have too many hands on them and too much written material on them that it's like, what the fuck even are you now? You
Yeah.
know? And that's a potential issue that you run into. And it sounds like he was the one that suffered it. Superman suffered it. But yeah, man. Yeah.
The way that Dark Knight's Metal starts off pretty much encapsulates what you can expect from the rest of this book. The way that it starts is super entertaining and as equally ridiculous.
Yeah.
With all the heroes battling Mongol, they're stuck in this pit. They have these devices on them. They can't use their powers. And essentially, they all come together like fucking Voltron or the Megazord, and they're able to bring down Mogul. It was, I mean, excuse the pun, it was so batshit crazy. But and the way it's introduced is almost like a movie, because you see them and they're like, oh shit, are we doing this? They're like, I hope we're doing this. And then like it smash cuts, and then we're moving on.
It's like I made fun of earlier, dude. It's that weird notion that a lot of this series was written just to please fans and to throw in, hey, you know what I want to write about? Let's write about this, and let's make Mecha Shiva the DC version, And
Yeah.
I mean, granted, is it cool? It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Does it make sense? Not a single bit.
No.
No, not even a little bit. Yeah. So.
And don't get me wrong, like, we read a lot of comics, so like, for me, suspension of disbelief is second nature. Hell, I don't believe half the shit I see in real life. So it's always easy for me to, suspend that notion of belief whenever I'm reading a comic book, because yes, I primarily want enjoyment and entertainment. But for me, a big part of that comes from being told like a cohesive story that kind of, leads one thing to another. But here with Dark Knight's Metal, that little intro, man, like that tells you all you need to know about the tone of this book.
Well, here's my big issue. Why the fuck did we get it? What does that do for the rest of the story? I mean, yeah, it was fun and games, but like, what?
So, yeah, that bit by itself, it's true. It really didn't.
It didn't tell me anything more about metal. It's
No.
just like, look, I'm Batman. I have the weirdest contingency of all contingencies. Let's become Mecha Shiva, but the Justice League version.
Right.
I'm Batman.
Yeah. Something else I also want to point out really quick, just for those of you who may be wondering, there are other spin-off books. Hell, there's still spin-offs coming out, but the ones that are already out, like Dark Knight's Resistance and Dark Knight's Rising, we won't be covering those. We figured 3 was enough.
Hooray.
Yeah, because that's already a lot of material. But so just
Especially for an episode. Come on.
just so you guys know. But yeah, so this picks up with them coming back from defeating Mongol, and Challengers Mountain has there's some real shit going on with it, and they're like, all right, we should probably handle this. And so the shit hits the fan extremely quickly. Really interesting. Like the challengers, like first of all, they're already really obscure because the Challengers of the Unknown, like they're like a version of the Fantastic Four that, as far as I'd have to look more into them, but as far as I know, I don't think that anyone really knows exactly who to credit for their creation.
Okay.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, yeah, it's like, yeah, there's not really a whole lot on them. But yeah, I mean, for shit's sake,
they're Challengers of the Unknown, man.
Yeah.
They have to be unknown. Get with it.
Yeah, but no, it was a group of 4 of them. But yeah, no one really knows who made them. I think that Jack Kirby played a pretty big part in their creation. I mean, and if so, cool. that would kind of make sense that they're really Fantastic Four-esque in nature. But
well, is that something that's currently being written about?
Challengers? Not that I'm aware of. Not really.
Okay. Yeah. So that was an attempt made type thing, but this is like a loose reference back to it,
right?
Because the book is a great. It's great at making references to all these things, and that there's value in that because you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, you know, and there's nostalgia even in that. There is, but not all of that's necessary either. Not at all.
And I guess also really quick, guys, not to backtrack, but with everything, with like the second half of Dark Days. The only thing I can really say about that, guys, is that, if and or when you read that, just know that it's all supposed to tie into a form of metal. It's all supposed to reckon back to a specific metal, one that is of importance in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And that's not even me trying to be ominous. That's just me trying to add some clarity or light to it. I mean, but you get a lot, like even, Batman being thrown back in time after he was killed by Darkseid. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there. The Endgame, a little bit of that. There's a little bit of everything in there. But back to Dark Knight's metal. When they get back, they're met by Kendra Saunders. Of course, we know her as Hawkgirl. And yeah, similar along the line, where the New 52 or Rebirth, there was a reboot or a retcon with her character. So, one of those. But no, she tells them that they're on the verge of like a full-scale invasion, and that she's the one who really explains to them the concept even of a dark multiverse.
Yep.
And so the way that she explains it is essentially like there's, and thankfully there's even a chart, and I think like the back of that.
Yeah, there is actually in the back of this. I looked at it, and in looking at it, the easiest one-sentence summary that I'm going to give homies, and please go ahead and expound on this, but I already know a number of homies out there who are just going to go, oh, to what I'm the fuck about to say? It's the Upside Down from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Please continue. That's all. There you go. The Dark Multiverse, the Upside Down.
And for the homies who haven't seen Stranger Things.
Nope. Doesn't compute.
Does not compute.
Everyone's like, oh, yeah. There's a few homies out there, however, Stranger Things. I didn't do Netflix. I never did Stranger Things. We move on.
So essentially, there is the multiverse. And of course, that was first really expounded upon and collapsed upon with Crisis on Infinite Earths. A lot of callbacks to that book tonight. And what they're saying is that, okay, so there's the multiverse, and that we're all familiar with. We know that means different universes, similar concepts and similar characters, but things are different. That's the multiverse. The dark multiverse is another realm altogether that lies beneath the multiverse itself. So there's another multiverse, okay?
There is. So basically, on one side of the coin, you realize there's a lot of other estranged options all across that coin head, and you're just like, oh, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that, there's, all this cool shit reference from DC novels of this hero, but then flip that coin over. And then all that same convoluted cool shit on top of the coin is also existing on a dark side under the coin. Hence, what I referenced as, the Upside Down, essentially.
And that dark coin is made of metal.
Get the fuck out of here. Now you go to bed.
Okay, you know what? I'll accept that.
And do not take a warm glass of milk with you,
No?
you asshole.
Go
to bed.
I get thirsty.
No, I don't care. You don't deserve it.
Oh, can I take a comic book with me to bed?
I'm going to say no, but you already have comic books in there. Come on, man.
Oh, shit.
Right.
But yeah, so at this point, she tells them that, hey, there's a dark multiverse that exists, and it's beneath our mainstream multiverse. Mm-hmm. And that there is a dark beast there named Barbatos. Now, I think that it's traditionally pronounced Barbados, but I think for the book is kind of flipped to Barbatos.
Actually, it would make more sense for the book to call it Barbados because of all the lore that they write for this character. Either way, it's a dope name.
Oh, yeah.
Barbados, whatever. I'm going to go with the more present-day translation Barbados because that's just going to be easier.
It's easier, yeah.
However, I did want to make this joke real quick and a serious statement. Uh-huh. This is not to be confused, however, with the pirate name from a well-known Disney pirate-made movie of recent years. Yep.
Yeah, DC doesn't own... or Marvel or Disney doesn't own DC yet, so we're good.
Knock on wood. But yeah, so we look at this giant ass map and we flip it over, and the important thing that you walk away from that whole tidbit is there's a dark multiverse where shit goes down.
Yes. And Batman, he's revealed to be part of a prophecy in which there's I think there's 5 metals that essentially open the door to the dark multiverse.
Right. The 5 metals, once Batman finds them, he becomes a doorway for Barbatos, if you will, to unleash the dark multiverse and all of its fears and worst nightmares upon the normal multiverse, or what you can call the light multiverse, and thus giving Barbados power over our realm.
Exactly. And so Kendra, she's discovered that there is a connection between the Wayne family and this Barbatos because
why not?
Yeah, because why not? Yeah, that's just how it is.
I think they did loosely give it okay credentials as to why. But again, this is going to a comment I made earlier saying that this is a really thinly stretched bridge between 2 entirely unrelated concepts.
Yes.
They're calling it it has to be the Wayne family because of the time traveling gimmick Batman went through when he was first exposed to the Omega Beams.
Yeah, that's when Barbatos discovered him.
Exactly. That's when Barbatos was like, oh, look at this motherfucker flying through the realms like he's a time traveling mortal. Oh, I'm going to remember that name. Yeah. What's his name? Wayne? Fuck that family.
In particular.
That one. Oh, the meme. Oh, fuck yeah. I love memes. We were saying, more importantly.
So Bruce is essentially the conduit. So essentially what happens here now, that there is so much globetrotting that happens. It truly is difficult to keep up with. I mean, so I don't want to get to the pairing off yet, but there is a lot of pairing offs that happen, and
some of it's really cool actually. Yeah, like agreed. If I had to rank the books, this guy almost made first place because of some of the stuff that happens during this section here. But yeah.
But no, so essentially what happens next is I think that does he go for Baby Darkseid at this point?
Yeah, at this point, he's outrunning the Justice League, who is now made aware, thanks to Lady Deathhawk, or Blackhawk, Lady Blackhawk, a.k.a. Hawkwoman.
Hawkgirl.
That's what I said. That she told them, hey, there's some fucked up stuff with the Wayne family and this dark prophecy regarding an evil god named Barbados. And we need Batman. And the Justice League is like, whoa, Bruce, bro, don't do this. And of course, Batman has too many contingencies, so it's a worldwide chase for Batman when he's there. Yes. No, he's there. No, he's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's all over the place extremely quickly.
Yeah. But the good news is they do a good job making it reasonable
Yeah,
as
yeah,
to
they do.
how. Like
Right.
Clayface was used for one of the Batmans, and it's like, oh, how did you trick us with this? What? How'd you get Clayface to do this? Oh, cool. Wait, what? And then Batman's all the way over there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like the hows and to a certain extent even the whys, you come to realize that they don't really matter.
No, they don't. Because all of it leads up to Batman wanting a baby Darkseid, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was looking back at that specific omnibus there, the Justice League Darkseid.
That tells how
Anti-Monitor
Darkseid became
War.
a baby, I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's it's Darkseid versus the Anti-Monitor. It's that omnibus, and that what that omnibus is it essentially contains like volumes 7 through the end of Justice League. So I think that's 7 through 10 in the New 52. So if you read volumes 1 through 6 by themselves, then you pick up the omnibus, and it has the war of Anti-Monitor and Darkseid. So you see those two powerhouses go at it. Spoiler alert: Darkseid loses in the beginning. He dies, and he has a daughter named Grail. She is the one who essentially instills his essence into like another child, another baby, thus bringing Darkseid back. Now, by the end of the omnibus, Darkseid, he's back in full form again, like as a person, as an adult. But I think for Rebirth, they reverted him back to a baby, maybe from another universe. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But the reason he wants to do that though is because the Omega Beams, that's what sent him back in time in the first place. Maybe there's some way he can undo some of this.
Yeah, and that's actually a logical thought process. The carrying through of that, however, is really estranged.
He also gets a visit from Daniel Hall. And now this was very interesting for me because back when I read this book, like the first time through, I was also at the same time reading Sandman, and Daniel Dream or Daniel Hall is Sandman. He's the second Sandman, the second Endless, the second Dream. He's the successor to Morpheus.
Yeah.
And so he makes an appearance. Honestly, just more for appearance's sake.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was trying to remember his relevance to the story.
I mean, because when I first saw him, I was like, oh, this is fucking great. Like, they brought in a Sandman. I wonder if they're going to use him.
Sandman.
And, there are some obvious differences and, similarities between Daniel and Morpheus. But Morpheus he's more hard. He's not quite as easygoing or as caring as Daniel is. Daniel was an actual person though, so that kind of explains that. Whereas Morpheus was always endless. But
right. Yeah. But yeah. So.
Yeah. So we get Batman though. He gets the vision he gets the visitation from Daniel, who pretty much tells him, "Hey man, some shit's about to go down," and really that's about it.
That's literally it. Yeah. I'm trying to find the page actually where we see that.
It's at the end of a chat. There he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened actually before the Justice League started chasing him. So
right.
that was a call back.
Yeah.
But yeah, just trying to like slam the gas pedal on the actual story here. Eventually, the Justice League actually does capture the real Batman.
Yeah.
Who I believe, like we said, he has the baby Darkseid. Which, to me, of course, I of course read all the source material prior to this.
Oh yeah.
So of course I knew why the fuck that was a baby and why he had God goggles.
I can only imagine like how off-putting. Like I can even pick your brain for a
No,
second.
you couldn't imagine how off-putting. Can you imagine? No, that was weird as fuck. Like I was just like, what? Why is it a baby?
Right.
What? Like I had to wiki that too actually to understand why is this a child? Mm-hmm. This was a god level enemy for them. Now it's a god baby with god goggles apparently.
God baby.
But I digress.
Yeah.
They catch up to him, and the whole thing was a trap sprung by the Court of Owls, who exposes Batman to the fifth metal, so creatively named Batmanium. Which, okay, I rolled my eyes at this point. Like, at this point, there is cool stuff that happened. How we got to each cool thing was really weird for me. I mean, bad is a little too strong. I wouldn't even call it that. I would just call it poor writing sometimes.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because just maybe a couple nights ago, on one of our last podcasts, we talked about there being a fine line between creativity and laziness. We're talking about like the Harley Quinn show, but like they were being humorous. We were talking about Cy Borgman,
right.
Yeah, and like how you know, like that. Like I said, that can straddle the line between being hilarious and then being Like, in Batmanium, like that would have worked if the story was trying to take a comedic turn. Like but they're not.
It's that's a great point that we've definitely talked about, and this is just like. Parts of it feels like the lazy writing that's like, okay, let's just write this shit here because it'll be simple and it'll be like, ooh, look at that. But I guess whatever the fuck you call that, the flash effect, the shock effect of comic books. But no, the way that they get here and like the connections between all these events is it's almost lazy writing, but it's just like, at the same time, it's not, because you have to get super creative to stretch the bridge out. You're working really fucking hard to find and write a creative connection between this and that point plot, which have never been connected in the past before. So much so that you almost probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
you're not wrong. But this is all a trap. It was a trick by the Court of Owls.
Yep.
They introduced him to the Batmanium, as you put it.
So, of course, the Court of Owls is in this tomb, the Tomb of Hath-Set, which apparently is the bad tomb. Don't fuck with the Tomb of Hath-Set, which makes sense because he was not a good...
Yeah,
that was
Hath-Set. That's actually Black Adam. That's because it's not him, but that's who he has. There is a strong relation between Black Adam and Hath-Set.
Well, I mean, that was also one of the Egyptian gods. That's also a bad god. Yeah. Looking at it from the historical point of view there. But yes, Black Adam as well.
Yeah. Look at this is a fucking comic. Look at this from the comic standpoint, Kevin.
I was ready for
Black
that.
Adam.
I was ready for that. Yeah, and it's like, oh, this is the tomb of Prince Khufu. Nope. Fuck that. This is the tomb of Hath-Set. It was a trap. You've been set up.
It's a trap.
And then Superman and Wonder Woman, the only Justice League members who are apparently talking to him because the others are fuck all somewhere, they get held down by the energies of the tomb or something, and it's like it's drawn to be the spiral webbing, and it like drags them and holds them in place, and they can't do shit. And out comes the Court of Owls, and they're just like, yeah, fuck you, Batman. Look at this. Here's the metal. Be exposed.
We got you.
Open the gate.
Yep. And so the gates opened, and out come, like, I think first we get like the twisted looking fucked up Robins.
Yeah. And they're interesting because they went for something poetic with them, because all the Robins look the same. So it's like multiple Robins from different dark multiverses of fear and nightmares all pulled together to be like these fucked up looking henchmen of sorts, right? And all of them only say crow. And they try to eat you. Eating crow, hence eating the idea of your aspects and your aspirations, and basically showing you your humiliations is what that phrase is referencing there.
Yeah.
That's what it means whenever you say, oh, I'm eating crow. Oh, fuck, I did this to myself type thing. And it's like, oh, well, look, these Robins are showing you, hey, fuck you, Superman, I'm going to eat your humiliations.
Yeah.
It's a weird point to make, but it is poetic, I applaud them for the attempt. I applaud them for the creativity. It's also, like, the theatricality of it all is really cool. It's like, oh, look at these fucked up Robins, bro. Look at these guys come out. They ain't no joke. They're cannibals.
Yeah.
They look great. They're drawn great.
Yeah.
Oh, that being said, real quick sidebar note, another compliment to the whole series. The artwork is outstanding. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I mean, that does stand to be said, though. The artwork for this one is amazing. Who primarily did the artwork for Dark Knight's Metal? Is that Greg Capullo?
Yep,
Because
Greg
he did,
Capullo.
yeah, because that same duo did majority of the story and artwork for the New 52 Batman. So that makes sense.
Yep.
But no, so moving on, I think it's after this we get like a kind of like a false memory from Batman, or is this the part where we get Superman coming to? I think it's when we get we get the twisted memory. Not so much a memory, but
No,
it's like a happy time.
Yeah, this is when we get a bunch of fucked up distortions, essentially, and they're all told back to back. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's a bunch of like false stars. You think that they give you like this false sense of security, but you as the reader know that something can't be right because of what just previously happened in the last chapter.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so it's a bunch of looks like happy moments where you see like the Super Sons putting on a little show for their parents and whatnot. But of course, no, all is not as it seems. There's like this little kind of fun thing that the Trinity have in place for one another in case shit hits the fan. And Batman initiates that saying, and I think you have it there. What was it?
Are you talking about this box right here?
This is I can't see it. What's it say?
Okay. I might not be the most eloquent, but at least it was from the heart. I went for it, right? I mean, and then that's when the blood symbol appears on his chest.
I believe so.
Carpe diem?
Yeah.
Oh, just the simple Latin. Oh, yeah,
No,
okay.
I mean, I forget what it is. I have to go back and look at it later. But they talk about how there's a certain phrase that each member of the Trinity says to one another whenever shit has hit the fan. Yeah, but they mention it here and then at one other point later. But I'll find it some other time.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm trying to find it too. I have no idea. Yeah.
But anyway, back in like the real reality here, because Batman, he's now stuck in the dark multiverse essentially. He's not doing well.
I mean, Batman's stuck in the multiverse, and all of them are kind of stuck living these weird, fucked up hallucinations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's creative.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Once Superman comes to, he goes to like the Fortress of Solitude. But it's here when he runs into like the dark versions of Batman, the Dark Knights, and this is a really cool kind of concept. Like I really actually enjoy what we get from the Dark Knights. Like for me, like this is when the book really starts to get interesting for me. Because
which part are you going into here? I'm guessing it's past all this.
No, that's before that.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
Because I think we saw like the Devastator and some other ones. Keep going.
I was about to say.
Oh yeah, after the band.
You mean this, where we see the Devastator and whatnot?
Oh yeah, he's still in the memories. Or
I was about to say this is all in my mind when he's still all fucked up from distortions.
Oh yeah, no,
like
but go back a page. There he is. He's out of it at that point, or coming out of it.
I was about to say, in this, he's still trying to come out of it. Yeah.
But this is when we're first introduced to the Dark Knights, essentially.
Right.
Them all as a conglomerate. There's the Batman Who Laughs, and we see the Devastator.
Yeah. And the Dark Knights is a really cool concept, guys. A quick rundown. It's different multiverses. All of these guys are all pulled from different multiverses. They all just don't exist at the same time together. Mm-hmm. So there's a Batman and a dark, fearful, and nightmarish multiverse for each hero, which means they are Batman fused with the concepts of each hero of the Justice League. So there's a Batman Aqua Person. There's a Batman Superman. Batman Flash. There's a Batman Wonder Woman. And they're all very cool, dark renditions of each of these heroes' nightmares and fears, but put with Batman energies. Like
like there's
the Devastators, the fucking Doomsday Batman.
Yeah, Dawnbreaker's the Green Lantern one.
And that's like a teenage Batman.
Yeah,
that's a really strange one.
The Drowned was the
Bryce Wayne, a female.
Wayne. Yeah. Obviously the Batman Who Laughs.
The Wonder Woman's was cool. It was Batman who took the helmet of Ares.
Yeah, took the helmet of Ares. Yeah, what was that?
That was Wonder Woman's. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the name of that one, but yeah. Yeah, that was Wonder Woman's.
The name of it? Give me a sec. I wrote it down. That one is The Merciless.
Merciless. That's
The Murder Machine. That's Cyborg.
Cyborg.
Yeah. The Dawnbreaker was the Green Lantern one. The Red Death was the Flash one. That was cool.
Yep.
Yeah, man. They were. Oh, and of course, the Batman Who Laughs was Batman's own fear, him becoming Joker.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, so we get our first introduction to those guys. But no, just to really hit the gas pedal on this thing, because there's like, we could really get lost in the muck here.
Dude, there's a lot of muck. Like, a lot of this we could actually go, like, and just basically proclaim it to be like they're all fighting their demons. Essentially.
But Superman, he does get rescued. I think it's by Dr. Fate and the Flash, and he gets taken to like this sanctuary. Or not a sanctuary so much as a temporary safe haven where the resistance it can meet up
where basically Hawk Girl and her crew is chilling.
Yeah. And here we have like the remnants of the resistance, and this is really where the Dark Knight's Resistance book spins off into. So you can kind of read about how they've been keeping up and keeping alive during all this. But yeah, so we get this here, and this is really when the teams start to splinter off after this, because they all have their objectives now. But no, just to go on here though, and not to get lost in all this muck. So they split off, and it's I think who was it, Superman and Steel that go to the dark. No, they create a way for Superman to go to the Phantom Zone. It's kind of like a backdoor attempt. But once he gets there, he gets trapped by the Knights, so they can harness his energy to power their fucking Doomsday Machine, so that their reality can be basically unleashed onto our multiverse. So they fall for another trap. And so now shit is so hopeless. For the good guys. And yeah, like, you know, honestly, just for, because we still have one more book to go through. Just for time restraints, and also just for you guys who haven't read the book yet, because, you know, spoiling certain things in Dark Days is one thing, but spoiling things for this one is kind of a different matter altogether. But no, by the time we get to the big conclusion, because I do want to say this, the first act I thought was interesting. The second act was rough for me. The third act I really enjoyed.
Same thing here, dude. The second act I found to be I don't know, man. I needed energy to read through the second act, because it's like, okay, we're just really, at this point, this is where so many attempts at other references and lore and characters and storylines that you need to know about or at least have familiarity with all come together and create this vastly confusing and just like, oh my gosh, I need so much mental energy to dissect this part that I just don't want to bear with it. Like, literally, this whole part here, first reading of this book, I just flipped past it and went straight to the third act. And then I went back after finishing the book and read this part. Because a lot of this is just like, okay, I can tell right now that none of this is pivotal shit. And I was right. And I guessed that.
I don't know if I say that.
Dude, I went back and read it, and there's a lot of cool shit that happens, and there's a point where I had to say, oh, wait, let me go back to a certain page.
Right.
Like, for instance, some of the stuff that one woman does was pretty cool, where you get introduced to
with Kendra.
Where Kendra becomes Lady Deathhawk, where I originally said that name earlier, you know. But then, like, she lassos a truce her and brings back the good Hawk Girl, but with Lady Deathhawk body. And it's like, I'm glad I read that part, because that would have been confusing as fuck. And then there's some cool stuff that happens with the antiquesting version of fucking Alan Carter Hall.
Carter Hall, yeah.
And he becomes the Dragon of Barbados.
Yes.
That was dope.
Yeah.
Convoluted as fuck, but dope looking, you know?
And it's kind of like that's it right there.
That's it right there.
It's kind of like we said earlier, like, you know, like the pairing offs, a lot of them are really fun to read, really interesting. But you are right. Some of this stuff just doesn't feel pivotal. It's kind of like they need to be doing something, so this is that. And I mean, hell, even some of the shit that Batman does, it's really fun and cool to read how he's lost in these nightmares. But even some of that stuff, just it doesn't feel like it's necessarily pushing the plot forward a whole lot.
Right.
It's just kind of showing our heroes now in a state of crisis. No fucking pun intended. I did not mean that. But like some of the cool pairings, like Aquaman and Deathstroke, that was kind of cool.
I did not read any fuck about this monkey.
Oh, you didn't read anything about Detective Chimp?
Not my first read.
Oh, okay.
No, like when I hit these pages, I was just like, huh. And at this point, notice this is a good 2/3 past the book. This is the beginning of the last third, and whenever you get to this point about Bobo or whatever, it's just like, okay. I've already witnessed so many convoluted, stretched bridges to sell certain story points to me that I just decided, no, I have no patience for this right now. I will come back and read that afterwards, and I went straight to like this part here and said, what's happening, and move forward.
Yeah. And you know, it is interesting to kind of think why they decided to put certain parts in the book. I mean, because it all does tie into Metal, but is it all pivotal to Metal? That's where the debate can be had, because it can definitely be argued that a lot of this stuff just isn't really necessary for the main story. At all. But yeah, like the third act, thankfully, is when things finally start to weave themselves back into one semi-cohesive plot. I mean, because there's a lot of weird things going on here.
Yeah.
But no, so with the third act though, just to kind of bring this one home though, what we really get here is now Superman and Batman, like they've been able to pull their resources together because they both temporarily got stranded in this nightmare zone. They're able to come back together, back to the main multiverse.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I heard that shit.
Yeah, my bad.
It's you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good. Neck popping. Wow.
Yeah. But no, I do want to say this though. One thing about the pairing offs that we also notice is that hardly any of them actually succeed because they're...
No, it's just pulling their world further into darkness.
Yeah. Like they get fucked over pretty hard. Like all of them do.
Yeah.
But let's see. No. Let's move on here to this third act though.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I do want to go ahead and mention this part about the third act though. When we're finally getting to like close to the very fucking end of the book, one of my favorite moments I realized is something that I kind of wish the book had been more focused on, and then I kind of get it in the next book, and that is I just want more quiet moments. I want more intimate settings, more intimate moments, because so much of this is so grandiose and so spread out that it's hard to equally give my focus or care to everything going on.
That's a really good way of putting it, because so many of the things are felt to be clustered. They're felt to be busy and fast-paced and really intricate in detail. Whereas a lot of the strongest stuff here is more linear and more focused. That's a really astute observation. Yeah.
But essentially what happens is that Kendra, she is able to free Carter from the grasp of Barbatos, and Carter turns on Barbatos, which is what we get eventually. We also get the introduction of another metal, or several metals, but one in particular is called the 10th metal. It's supposed to be like, of course, a play on words, like, you know, the nth metal, which has been around since almost forever in DC continuity. But this is a stronger metal, and this is what's being used now in this final kind of onslaught that we get here. And what we also get here is a very cool confrontation between Batman and Barbatos, and I was like, this is what I want. And then we get the Joker as well. I'm like, this is really what I want.
Yeah.
And this is for me where things really become really cool, because once again, I live for these more quiet, intimate moments. And that's just, once again, more me as a reader. These bigger moments, especially in settings like this, they don't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that, at least, you know, amongst us, I'm not alone in that, because
Yeah, I mean, cause some of the stuff was just so far fetched that it was almost pissing me off. You know?
Yeah, and
And
you know, it's like I
just
said,
like
it's
this is not adorable to me. This is fuck all valuable.
right, and it is because it seems like once again, Scott Snyder, I feel he kind of wrote a lot of this for himself, for his own amusement, because like this is what he wanted to write to his own inner child.
It felt like something more from Umbrella Academy at times. Which, if you've read those novels, you know that is a very fun, almost like improvisational energy to it. Where it's like, where did that come from? But they start with it, and that's just to be expected from that line of story. That's just their storytelling method.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a tossed salad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways,
but you know, they essentially using the 10th metal, they are able to essentially stop Barbatos, stop the Dark Multiverse from taking over. There's a lot that happens in between, homies, but we cannot cover this all.
No.
Not only that, but I don't know if we will want to.
Exactly. At this point, if you couldn't tell that there's just so much that happens, and it just takes so much time to properly dissect it and to give each thing attention. If we were to tell it page by page like that, but we don't want to do that. we just don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have that much energy to devote to this particular book.
Granted, like he was saying, using the new 10th metal, Element X, is what they're calling it. It's metal from the Forge itself, which is basically
the purest it can get.
The purest metal the world or any of the multiverses could ever fucking witness, because this is the thing that's like on par with Barbatos, this dark god. And using it, Batman is able to like get some of this fucking metal, and he's able to like shape it and malleate it and help each Justice League member to overcome the darkness. And they all are encompassed in this cool ass looking armor, and they look like metal Power Rangers almost. And it's really fucking out there.
Yes.
Does it come off great on the pages? It looks great. Story wise, I'm still confused.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like Greg Capullo's art is top notch.
Yeah,
it is top notch. His artwork is great. And his artwork saves a lot of this book for me.
Yeah.
But no, they use the 10th metal to essentially pull the multiverse from the dark multiverse.
Which somehow that works. It's super convoluted. They are really stretching with what they're allowed to get away with.
Yes.
But the very end here has a very cool scene, which is more one-on-one, which is more of what we wanted.
Yeah, this was the thing that I really enjoyed to see.
Yeah.
Because how many times do you see Batman and Joker team up? First of all, by the time we got here, I was so ready to see Batman versus the Batman Who Laughs.
Right.
Because
everyone else fought something. Yeah. Batman was doing something.
Yeah. Running through nightmares and, you know.
Yep.
I mean, I will applaud this. Like this one, that one particular act and the second act, it didn't add anything to the story per se, but it did give us a really cool moment when he was telling a story to like his granddaughter.
Oh yeah,
and all the stories were on the shelf. Like it was really fun, really cool.
To relive all, like, because his mentality kept jumping into different lifestyles that he's lived in different points of his history, and that's really cool. Had the book been that, I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. Had the book been primarily the first or the third act, I would have enjoyed that. But and certain elements were really cool in this book, and I really liked them. But there's just so many weird chunks to the sandwich that didn't make sense.
Yeah. And I think that really, if this had been an actual Batman book instead of an event book, it would have been much cleaner. Would have been much smoother. But I think the people, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I feel like the people that do really thoroughly enjoy this book weren't looking for a serious read. But for the most part, Batman fans are looking for, you know, a more grounded, serious read. And we really don't get a lot of that. But no, this end little triple threat fight we get here, pretty much once Barbatos is all but vanquished, we do get this fun fight here between, Joker, Batman, and Batman Who Laughs. But no, it does end with Barbatos. He's been chained down to the bottom of the dark multiverse because you technically can't kill Barbatos.
Yeah, he's a god.
Yeah, he's essentially a god. But with the help of the Overmonitor, don't not to be confused with the Anti-Monitor. The Overmonitor helps chain down Barbatos, and with the use of the 10th metal, as well as the help of the Overmonitor, they're able to drag the multiverse from the pits or the depths of the dark multiverse.
Yeah.
And then after that, we get like a fun little epilogue here that is equally as crazy and insane.
Yeah. This was a cool lead into the next book. Holy fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
We got another book.
Yeah.
So essentially this scene, and I know you're probably going to want to go back over it, and feel free to do so, but this scene is Batman versus the Batman Who Laughs. Batman Who Laughs is about to do some more dark shit serving Barbatos at this point, because he's not giving up, even though the rest of the Dark Knights are nowhere to be seen. Batman confronts him, and he's very confident. He still has some of the 10th metal that has been shaped into batarangs, essentially. Very cool, very classic Batman. And it's him versus himself, and it's Barbatos who's confident, Batman who's confident. But then out of nowhere comes the surprise Joker reveal, and Joker and Batman versus Batman Who Laughs, and it's great. It really is. There's fun stuff happening here. It's a great theatrical fight, and they kind of actually overcome the Batman Who Laughs here to a degree. And as far as we know, the day is saved.
Yeah.
And there you go.
No, I mean that's perfect.
Yeah.
And really, I think that those few panels and pages alone, Kevin, I think maybe I don't want to say inspired the Batman Who Laughs, but I think that maybe people wanted more from the Batman Who Laughs, and by the time this came out, they were like, "Man, we really didn't get a lot of him."
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at this from an outside point of view, because at this point, step outside of the story and just look at the theatricalities they gave us, the aesthetics. The Batman Who Laughs is disturbing, but shockingly intriguing to look at. You look at that and think, what has happened to this Batman? I want to see this guy, because he's a Batman with the metal plate over his eyes, where how you watching things, how you seeing things, whatever. It looks like a helmet from Destiny, and he's got like the chains and classic, very goth and almost even steampunk-esque clothing on, and he's got the frame of a Joker, but he's got the look and feel of a Batman nonetheless, and he's got
fighting
skills and the tactility and the strategy of a Batman, but the demented psychotic mind of a Joker at the same time, with the sharpness and awareness of Batman. He's a perfect mix of the two for the ultimate dark, killing, malicious machine. And it's like, what is this guy up to? So even if it wasn't this one scene, yay or nay, because there is so much confusing shit before it, that getting to this was a relief. Getting to this was the oasis in the desert.
It was the real payoff.
That's good enough. Yeah. It was inevitable that fans were going to want more of the Batman Who Laughs. That I would have liked more of the Dark Knights in general, but less of whatever the fuck they were involved in.
Yeah. And maybe that's, I don't want to put this on us, but I'm trying to give the book here, I guess, a little bit of credit, but maybe this more on us because we had such expectations for the book, and it went a different direction.
I mean, I can't say I did. Because remember, I went into this with nowhere near as much backstory knowledge as you might have.
Okay.
I went into this thinking, okay, Batman Who Laughs. Let's read about the road metal. Let's read about Dark Knights. Fuck yeah, man. I'm down for some metal. Headbanging. Let's do it. And I don't know, man. It just got so strange and out there that am I going to call this a good book? Yeah. Am I going to call it a good book for different reasons? Most definitely, yeah. Am I going to call it a good story? Fuck no.
Yeah, no. This is, honestly, I think that this would be a good analogy, or at least for me. This, for me, felt like the Fast and Furious of comic books. In the sense where, I know when I'm watching Fast and Furious, and I'm not going to get a plot that makes any fucking sense. I'm in it for the cool car chases and stunts.
Yeah. Well, you've used that example a few times. Yeah.
I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it for that. Like that's what I mean. Or maybe an even better example for me would be any Transformers movies other than the first one, because the first one was actually really fucking great. But the second one, or even on down, is just like they're fun movies, but you know what you're getting. But yeah, so with that, let's just really quick give our broad overstrokes of how we felt about the Batman Who Laughs.
So this was a cool book. First off, canonically, both the Metal books almost didn't happen for this book because 1, there's no mention on Barbados. Yeah. 2, there's no mention of the Dark Multiverse or any weird fucked up shit like that. 3, at the end of Dark Knight's Metal, freaking the Batman Who Laughs had some fingers cut off by the Joker, they're back. And so he's mutilated. But Batman Who Laughs, he's not mutilated anymore. Batman Who Laughs is more just like another multiverse version of Batman. Is the way that it's being written here. Mm-hmm. It's like Snyder kind of stepped outside of Dark Days Metal or whatever, and decided, or Dark Knight Metal, excuse me, and decided, okay, wait, let me write another story about Batman Who Laughs, but let me do it like this time. And so it's like a hard shift in the paradigm of how he tells the story, of the setting, of the tone, and it's much more fitting.
Yeah,
it's much more classic, a Batman versus himself, and a Batman versus his own psychology. And the last thing I'll go ahead and mention about it before I pass it off to you, my friend, The Torch. It is a great book talking about the psychology of Batman's thought process and his entire psyche, and the Joker's thought process and his psyche. And I applaud chances that we get to explore those. DC's been doing them a lot lately with Batman. You know? So? Yeah. The few that we've reviewed of Batman, at least on the air here, I felt that have been, a few that have explored his mentality, his emotions, and things like that, which is cool. And that's not a critique. That sounds like a critique. Excuse me. I don't mean it to be. It is, however, an observation because I find it to be very true. And this book, however, is a great dive into those. I especially took heavy notes on some of the last stuff we got in the book. Yeah, which I'll talk about after I give you a chance, because I don't want to take all the attention over here.
So I got to be honest, guys. It's not that I dislike Dark Knight's Metal, but by the time I was done with it, I was a little exhausted, and I didn't know if I had it in me to read a third book in that same vein. Just because it's not really my style of reading that I particularly enjoy. It felt a lot like reading 90s X-Men as a kid. Like, this is so fucking confusing, and just like, this is, as a child, trying to read Age of Apocalypse was a nightmare for me. But anyways,
I mean, I will say this though: if there was that great diehard fan out there who was not confused at all by a single panel in this book, congratulations, you, my friend. You deserve a handshake and a superhero homie high five. And those earlier compliments I gave to you, Q, go to that being. But that just wasn't me either. And you said it so well. I'm going to borrow that phrase for myself. Ditto. It's not my style of reading either. You know, I don't like my mentality being pulled astray to and fro, tossed like the wind or something. Yeah, no.
Because it's like, for me, it wasn't even so much a matter of not being able to follow all the breadcrumbs that came from fucking 15 years ago or 10 years ago. It was more of you trying to tell me a story from 18 different angles.
No, that's exactly the fucking point. That's the sin. Yeah. Because it's like, no, I mean, I could follow it. Fuck, if I have to cheat in Wiki, you guys already know I will. If I have to cheat and call you up and yo, Q, help me remember this from that certain time period. What's the reference?
Right.
Fuck yeah, I'm down for that. But yeah, man,
it felt more like the effort. Yeah. Like, I feel like the homie that read this completely untethered or completely unfrustrated by the matter is the homie that also didn't care or read it for those same purposes. At least that'd be my interpretation.
That's an interesting point of view too. But yeah, man.
But as far as the Batman who laughs, as far as this book goes, this was such a breath of fresh air because this is classic Scott Snyder. This is what I was expecting when I picked up Dark Knight's Metal.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
This, once again, is a smaller scale story, smaller roster, smaller heroes and villains that we deal with. And this right here, it has that tight writing style that, for me, Scott Snyder is known for. I was so afraid that it was just going to be like more crazy batshit off the wall, convoluted mess of a story. Thankfully, no, what we got here, I mean, first of all, this was done by Scott Snyder and Jock. That's the same duo who, I guess, 9 years ago did Black Mirror. The same duo.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once he references back to that quite heavily in The Batman Who Laughs. But with this book, though, I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was, here's the problem, here's what's happening, here are the villains. What does Batman do? How
It's
do you handle
classic
this?
storytelling. It's a story that, it's linear in essence. It's not a story which relies on pulling you 20, 18, whatever different directions to try to make a point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not trying to, drag you through the depths to, get you to understand every single little essence of the book. But what it's telling you, though, is that you have this villain, and once again, it's almost like I mentioned earlier, you just need a very superficial knowledge of Dark Knight's Metal to understand this book. And thank God, because, I would recommend just this book alone to certain people. And I myself would fill them in on the 3 bullet points that they need to know about the Batman Who Laughs before they pick this up. Hell, even if you just read the foreword, you can understand enough to enjoy this book. Once again, thank all the Bat Gods for that. Because if you had to read the other 2 books that we mentioned so far to understand this one, then it'd be a much harder read. But no, this book for me, though, was really great because we really get to explore more of the Batman Who Laughs, and also we get to explore more of the Grim Bat.
Yeah.
The Grim Batman.
The Grim Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grim Knight.
He was cool.
was
I dug
great.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine, I kept in my mind wanting to call him, the Punisher Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost,
Except this one was pretty okay with just killing in general.
yeah, he was okay with just killing in general, and with all due respect to Punisher, he still had that fucking 5 steps ahead thinking that Batman has.
Yeah.
Which was phenomenal because it's like just one of them, the Grim Knight or the Batman Who Laughs, either one of them is a fucking challenge for our Batman to deal with. So dealing with both of them, I thought was an especially interesting challenge for our Batman, for our Bruce Wayne. And it was also great seeing like all the other Bruce Waynes from other universes.
Yeah.
That was also really cool to get a closer look at them.
Yeah. The other Bruce Waynes, which actually got to lead lives of happiness, which actually got to lead lives of, other ways our Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, could have benefited and uplifted Gotham out of darkness. And it's interesting because in each of these other multiverses, it's still Bruce Wayne to the core, but they took entirely drastic different life choices, which took them either away from the mantle entirely or to where the mantle just kind of took the back burner and they were kind of benefiting Gotham or their city or etc. in other ways, which one might debate were more beneficial for Gotham than in our universe's Batman's, way of doing things.
Yeah.
In other words, our Batman got to witness other choices which might have made his city even better than he could have.
Absolutely.
And that's really cool when your character is forced to face the repercussions of decisions which he failed to make, or which he chose not to make, either or. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where we got to visit some of the psychological side again, where it's like, oh, look, you care about your city so much. Oh, you do? You really do? You promise you do? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? This Batman did this and that and this and that. That Batman did this and that and this and that. And now that you guys are all aware of each other, they have judged you to be the worst, and that your decisions have led to no benefit to the city as far as they can tell.
Yeah.
And that is dark, and that is polarizing for our Bruce Wayne, what we call Batman all the time in our whatever universe we are. What the fuck are we in DC? Help me out.
Earth One.
Earth One. That's so unoriginal. I'm joking.
Oh,
I'm
like
joking.
what?
But yeah, you get my point though. You know, yeah. It's just really intriguing for me to think about that and to think like his reactions to these realizations, and that's really where the book kind of leads to.
Yeah.
That alongside the idea of fighting yourself, when that interpretation of yourself is a fucked up sociopath who also has, you know, the same prowess and mental thresholds of the Joker.
Yes.
Yeah. Which really, ironically, are no thresholds at all. Just get the fuck out and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really is kind of like the crutch of the story, though. Look at this one here.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean,
book,
I think that Greg Capullo is a phenomenal artist, but Jock is also equally great. And I don't know who the colorist is for this book, but they did such a great job
They deserve
matching.
a fucking award.
Yeah, because they did such a great job matching Jock's art style.
And the art style evolves, dude. Like especially the Dark Knight, the Batman Who Laughs. He almost gets nightmarish powers in essence with how the art is drawn, where he's just like really just evolving in the darkness, and it's just like, oh my gosh, dude! Like this Batman has become insurmountable. This has become supernatural even compared to what our Bruce Wayne is capable of. He has to take some dark steps in his life to even attempt to combat this guy, and that's really cool to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, essentially in this one, Batman, he is slowly turning into another version of the Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, this is something that I need to do. I need to be able to think just like him if I'm going to beat him.
Yeah.
Because he already knows how I think, obviously, because he is me.
Yep.
He knows exactly what I would do. But with him being this amalgamation almost of me and the Joker, I need to become him.
Yep.
So that I can understand him. And that was really cool. And also seeing just like there's a timetable once again to play with here.
Yeah.
And you know, Alfred, man, it's like just essentially begging him, like, please, like, don't do this.
Yeah.
Get a fucking cure. Let's find another way.
Just in summary, or at least just to remind our listeners here, so and again, we're really just glazing over the details. Feel free to visit the book yourself. But essentially, Batman feels so overcome by the Batman Who Laughs that he himself takes on some of the darker choices that the Batman Who Laughs made in order to kind of like catch up to his level, to become that level of Batman that he is. In other words, he kind of Jokerizes himself. He exposes himself to the toxin in the Joker's blood, which is slowly transforming him into the Batman Who Laughs. And he's kind of like purposefully leading down this trail, teetering back and forth between being a healthy Bruce Wayne and being the evil, sadistic Batman Who Laughs.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to summarize that point real quick. But
Absolutely.
you.
But no, this I thought was hands down the best story of the three.
Agreed.
That we had to read. I mean, once again, it's just my style of reading, but in my opinion, I don't think it's even close in terms of enjoyment.
There were scenes in the second one, Dark Knight's Metal, that really pulled my attention, and I really dug them. But there was just so much in that book that really pulled it right back out, and I mentally just pulled the switch down. It's like, okay, damn it, I gotta read that again because I did not get it. Whereas this book was just from front to back, awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's a Black Label, sure, but Dadgum was a great read nonetheless.
I mean, Black Labels are great.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. I mean, dude, don't mishear me. I'm not saying that, it's a Black Label, so miscredit it. No, fuck that. I'm saying it's Black Label, so it's not canonical. This isn't,
Oh, no, this is very much canonical.
So it's not a Black Label.
Well, I don't think that this one is technically like this would have the Black Label sticker on it if it was, but
Oh, true. Yeah. Okay.
No,
So this is actually some unfortunate, fucked up stuff our Batman goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, poor Sap. Damn, I had thought that this was just like a fun write-off story, but never mind. Yeah, dude. Poor bastard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, also with the Grim Knight, I also really enjoy that too because he has a particular bone to pick with Jim Gordon. And
right. In his universe, he and Jim were not friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is almost kind of like the one I want to spoil the least because I value it the most. I know that's biased.
Yeah, it was a cool plot inside the plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, for those of you who have read, like, if you haven't read Black Mirror, you will still fucking enjoy this a lot. If you have read Black Mirror, the stakes feel just a little bit higher for you.
Yeah.
Because there's certain really cool aspects in there that they play with. So, and also, if you haven't read Black Mirror, even if you don't want to read it in connection with Batman Who Laughs, read it anyway because it's also a great story. Great Nightwing or Dick Grayson Batman story, and also Jim Gordon as well. But the Batman Who Laughs, great fucking story. Grim Knight, great introduction to that character.
Yep.
I really dug that character, and what it really felt like for me ultimately with this book, Kevin, was that with the Dark Knight Metal series, Scott Snyder got permission to do whatever he wanted to do. With this one, he was like, okay, you know, I gotta get serious again and get back to work. Not to downplay, yeah, and that's not to downplay the Dark Knight Metal series. It's just more so that I need to get back to doing the solid writing that I guess got me to the dance in the first place.
Maybe. Got him to the dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, you never heard the expression, don't ditch the girl that got you to the dance. Meaning that don't.
Well, no, but that sounds like an asshole.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Okay.
But yeah, either way, maybe that was the situation. I'm not sure there. Yeah, all I know is that this itself was a strong read. This was the Batman Who Laughs story that really does that particular character well. It is a great standalone story for that particular character. And it was just really fun to kind of like learn a little bit more about these characters through this lighting and through this unique lens here. Whenever you have versions of yourselves versus yourselves. Be that Batman and Joker versus Batman Who Laughs here in this more almost co-conspiracy versus each other type story, you know. The Joker, we kind of feel out and learn a lot about how to him nothing really matters, so there's no meaning into your actions, whereas Batman says no, all your actions matter, so yes, everything kind of does lead to a purpose. He has more of a hopeful standing, but then mixing those together creates the point of view of Batman Who Laughs being none of your actions matter, so the only thing that matters is doing whatever the fuck it takes to win.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes the worst of the bunch. That's when it becomes the worst possible fusion of Batman and Joker you could ever surmise, you know. And it was just a really fun read. Yeah, this one was. Yeah. I'm glad we ended it on a high note.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it naturally kind of ends with this one, like versus it starting with this one, because like if the series started with this, then I would be thinking, oh man, I can't wait to get to Metal because it's going to be more of this.
At that point, I definitely would have had expectations as well. I would have gone into the second book like, oh fuck yeah, man, reading halfway through it. What happened?
Like,
I'm calling my friends, guys, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. Are we sure this is Scott Snyder? Is this the same Scott Snyder? There's a new Scott Snyder in DC, isn't there?
It's Scott Snyder Jr., his son.
How old is his son? 12?
Yep.
I'm okay. I need
11.
to stop. But I will say this also about the Batman Who Laughs, and then we can kind of wrap up here. But
yeah, sure.
That is, the dialogue for this book was also top notch.
It really was.
Yeah.
The script for each character was very well written.
Yeah. Because it really tells you how much the writer in particular knows and cares about the characters. So the way that he wrote Jim Gordon and James Jr. and of course Batman Alfred, and then he he more fully fleshed out the Batman Who Laughs, and then this entirely new character, the Grim Knight. Like, that's really our main cast, and that's it, and I love that.
Yeah.
But what he writes for them, like, he doesn't waste a bubble. Everything he gives us is either plot development, purposeful exposition, or character development.
Yeah, that's true.
There is no kind of wasted space. And then he also gives Jock the time to write the story via the art. And I love when the artist has space to do that. When the art can tell the story. I'll spend a lot of fucking time on a single page reading the art. Because as pretentious as that sounds, there's a lot of fucking deep shit that's in like those single splash pages.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, this I thought was an amazing book.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah. And that, my friends, is all about Batman who freaking meddles and also sometimes laughs.
You got any closing thoughts, Kevin, on these three that we covered?
Hell yeah, guys. As always, this was a huge painting orchestrating our opinions, you know. That was our thought processes here, and hopefully, as many times we've said in the past, it reflects today still after hearing all of our thoughts tonight. Please, tell us your opinion. Tell us what you think. Develop your own opinion. If you read them later on in life and decide, you know what? I liked this, then please, I'm glad you like it. Don't let our thoughts and our opinions and what our takes on the book disdain or disturb what brings you joy overall. Because I know there are certain parts that we kind of shat on this a little bit, you know. And to that one homie who asked us to review it, please don't feel like we did, because brother, this was a great read.
Yes.
Thank you for asking us to review it, my man. Fuck yeah. You know?
Yeah, and you're right. That is a very important distinction to make. Because,
hell yeah. Always, dude.
like,
always.
I've read comics that I've hated. The Dark Knight series is not a comic series that I hate.
No. I never used that word.
I didn't say you did. I'm just saying that for
Oh,
me.
no. I wasn't accusing
okay.
you either, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on, man. We're on the page. We're on the page.
We're on different teams.
No, we're on the same fucking page.
I'm taking my half of the podcast, and I'm going.
What? You can't cut the table in half. You cut the table in half, but like diagonally.
Right.
So it's really awkward how we
Yeah.
both have like a leg and two half legs,
Oh shit!
and they're metal legs.
in the
too.
middle. Metal.
Oh, get out. Yeah. They're not cool divine metal though.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this though about the Metal series as a whole.
Sure.
And that is, I've read enough comics to see the value in this, and recognize why it has such a huge fan base.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I don't feel like I need to have read a lot of comics to see the
no.
value, because you can feel a lot of it from the amount of creative detail. Even though we kind of pointed out the potential flaws of pulling detail from so many estranged different sources and historical points, nevertheless, that takes a smart-ass creative mind. And that is always going to be a thumbs up for me. That's like, oh, you took that much effort to write this for me? Wow, thank you. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have. But nevertheless, that itself is like fucking applaud, you know? Yeah. The passion's there. And that I see total value in.
I mean, it gets a thumb up alone off of being a DC big event, like a universe-wide event that doesn't take itself seriously. I can't think of that many that don't take themselves seriously. I mean, Marvel or DC, most of these big events are very much, no, this is some serious shit we're dealing with here. This one, not so much. You know, he has a lot of fun with it, and you can tell. But no, this entire series as a whole, I've really had a lot of fun reading this, and I am curious to see what else happens with these nights. I would love for Scott to do another series like the Batman Who Laughs book, but maybe with another of the Dark Knights. It'd be fun to see him doing like what if the Devastator? Like what about him? What if he was able to escape and come back to this realm? Like, how do you handle a lot of these threats on an individual basis, and also give them time to flesh them out more, maybe breathe a little bit. That's just what I was thinking about. But no, that's all I got for this one, my friend. You got anything else?
Nah, dude, I think we put a lot into this one. Hell yeah. So, homies, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Give us stick around. We're about to tell you guys some cool announcements for the weeks to come.
Absolutely. So, in the coming weeks, Kevin, and by in the coming weeks, I mean next Monday.
Yep.
Or by the time you guys get this, probably next Tuesday.
Probably.
You know how it is.
The next episode you'll find on the list.
Well, next episode you find on the list will be Harley Quinn.
Exactly.
And that'll be this Friday.
Yeah. But my point being,
Yes.
the next big episode is going to be
Our Birds of Prey review. Or preview.
Preview.
Yeah.
Talking about the movie.
Yeah, so obviously we haven't seen the movie yet, but when it comes up, we'll review it. Our preview podcast is just going to be us talking about the cast of characters and really what they represent in DC and what we maybe will expect from the movie.
Exactly. What we're worried about, what we're hopeful for, all the cool shit.
Yeah. So that's going to be a really fun episode, guys. So be sure that you come back next week for that episode.
And then, of course, we're going to continue our shorty series of Harley Quinn and her fun-ass cartoon. Because that's an awesome little lighthearted bit that you could just kick back, relax, and have a great time laughing at each episode. And guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, check them out.
Do yourself a favor.
You deserve it.
And while you're at it, do us a favor. Whatever platform you listen to us on, leave us a review. A written review, preferably with 5 stars.
Spotify.
Yep.
I was just giving you the background. I mean, you can continue, yeah. But yeah, man. And then last but not least, guys, feel free to hit up our Patreon page, patreon.com/superherohomies, blah. And feel free to review some of that cool stuff we also talk about.
Yes.
$1 gets you most things, $3 gets you everything.
That is movies that are non-comic book. Yes, we cover stuff that's not comic
Hell
books.
yeah, that's other TV shows that are non-comic books. What?
Such as Rick and Morty. We just did The Mandalorian. We'll be doing The
Right.
Witcher. We recently did The Grudge and Bad Boys 3. And we'll be doing The Gentleman
Hell
this
yeah.
coming Thursday. So there's always a lot of cool shit going on Patreon.
Yeah, plus we're going to be doing some more cult classics here in the next couple weeks.
Ooh, that's right.
Ooh.
And we'll be doing Project Kakarot here soon, too.
Kakarot! But yeah, man. I think we did all the spots we could.
Yeah. Why not?
Why the fuck not?
But thank you guys again for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as we did. I had a blast covering these books, man. This has been great. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And as always, I am Superhero Homie Kevin.